All right, hello everyone. Here we are, setting up for hole number 8 now. So Thor's hammer is going to be a little bit tougher to get away with. I'm kind of maybe thinking about trying it, but I really think you should be using Apocalypse here. Apoc 5 is going to be very, very tough. Very, very tough shot. You might almost have to go for some kind of slice shot because you need to get a lot more momentum to get it over the cliff. You can see that if you guys watch my other tutorial, I was able to get to the green, but I needed a lot of topspin to do it. To kind of get away with it with a little bit less, what you're probably going to need is a lot of curl. So I'm thinking Apoc 5 here. I really don't even want to try to challenge this shot with a Thor's hammer. I just think it's going to be too impossible. But the only problem here is we're going to probably need to go with some kind of hook shot to get this club over successfully. It's going to be a tougher shot to do. But what it's going to allow the ball to do is kind of carry over the cliff with more momentum. It's going to kind of give it an extra added effect. So here you can see 14.5 miles per hour. First, I'm going to start my aim kind of where I want it. I'm thinking maybe just straight top spin here because I'll have more than enough hook to get the ball over. So what I typically do for slice shot is aim off the left of my bullseye. I'm going to try to play the wind more so than anything. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I'm aiming off the left of my bullseye, playing the wind about 10, 11 rings, kind of positioning kind of somewhere around here. And then I'm going to stack 1 on top and maybe 0.5. So right in the edge of the bunker there, as you can see where I am. And let's just see how that looks for a very first attempt here. Distance-wise, it's good. And you can see that it just doesn't quite have the momentum. This is going to be a nasty shot. I mean, this is just a dirty pitch. Very, very challenging to make. It doesn't matter if you try to play the green. You know, try to get this pitch is going to just be very, very tough. It's one of those that I'll typically try to just set up for a dunk, to be honest with you. But as I mentioned, you know, that extra slice factor is what's going to help that ball carry some extra. So let's take a look at this. A couple different ways to make it. One's a dunk. It's pretty much the way that I'll typically line these up. You can see I'm towards max club. You're also going to see, you know, I can pretty much play this right at the max number, which I usually play pretty close to 1 per. So it's going to be a massive, you know, there's 5 rings. I'm going to go at least 15, 16. Very significant wind play here. Other than that, you'll want to make sure that you're very centered. And only off by about 1 ring, but I'm telling you, that's going to be just as makeable as the pitch is. The pitch is just going to be dirty. I'm telling you, most guys, you know, they're the wind effect changes the ball guide so significantly that you almost can't even use it. It's like non-helpful in situations like that, especially if you try to set up for the full rollout. You know, you're gonna just be kind of spinning your wheels. You might get it, but it's going to be very, very tough to get consistently. So what I'll typically try to do is try to, you know, start mastering that dunk and trying to get you know, a general idea of where I'm going to be ending up most of the time. And if I get to that same point, you can see if I went one less ring there, it was probably in. So, you know, as a good starting point, you know, I went 16 rings there. Had I gone 15, and you could also see that I was at about +1, +0. I was very close to the 44 distance. So keeping that in mind, you know, as I get longer, I'll have to play more wind. As I get shorter, I'll have to get less wind played. So that's a great starting point to say, oh, I'm right at the max. When I'm not at the max line, but I'm at the max line for a basic ball, kind of right at +1. And at +1, it's playing, you know, about 1 ring below the wind, for example. And if it goes more in, say I was at +8, for example. So if I'm at +8, that means it's going to be in the air longer. It probably needs more. So I'll need at least probably 16 rings in that case, maybe even 16.5. I don't know. And, you know, similarly, if I get it out to that max line, for example, to where it's right at the max line, you know, I might have to play 2 more rings than that, even, you know, 2 on top of whatever the wind is, or 2.5 on top of the wind, for example. So if it's a 16 wind, I'll go 18 rings. That's kind of a minimum. But as I mentioned, you know, in my opinion, that's going to be just as makeable. And especially if you start to master it, you know, that's only my first attempt, and I got it. I only missed by a ring. If I great balled that to the right, it was probably in. Like, that's how close you are to getting an eagle. It's almost, you know, a coin flip or better. Whereas the pitch is just going to be nasty. It's going to be real tough. It's going to be able to, you know, be figured out, but you know, it's going to be a little bit more glitchy with the way that it rolls out. Very, very tough to play that side wind case. So good luck with that hole overall. Hopefully you guys find those tips useful, and I'll see you guys for hole 9.